So looking at these, always start with what? What do we always want to start with? What you're given, okay? What are we given? We're given 5 meters. So I'm going to write 5 meters.
How is this possible?
We want to get to what? We want to get to centimeters. Okay? We want to get to centimeters. What is the relationship between meters and centimeters on your conversion chart? What does it tell you between meters and centimeters?
They both have an M.
What does it tell you on your conversion chart?
1 meter equals 100 centimeters.
1 meter is 100 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to use that. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Why did I set it up that way?
Because you did.
Why did I set it up that way? Why didn't I put 1 on the top and 100 on the bottom?
100 is big.
So it can cancel out, right? We want to get these to cancel so we're only left with centimeters. Okay, remember, canceling only happens if it's opposite of each other. Okay, so here, meters cancel out. What do I do with those two numbers now? Multiply 5 times 100. We get 500 centimeters. Okay, so 5 meters is 500 centimeters. Okay, let's look at another one. Here we have 60 minutes equals how many seconds? What do we start with? Start with what always? Start with what you're given. We're given 60 minutes. Now, second step, look at what you want to get to. We want to get to what? We want to get to seconds. Okay. What's the relationship on your conversion chart from minutes to seconds?
60 seconds for 1 minute.
60 seconds for 1 minute. How does that go? Where should I put that? Where does the minute label go? On the top or on the bottom? We want to put it on the bottom. So we have 1 minute, and then how many seconds is in 1 minute? 60. Okay, what happens to the labels?
The minute cancels each other out.
Yep, minutes cancel each other out, and then what do we do with the numbers?
Divide.
Remember, multiply straight. There you go, multiply straight across. So we get 60 times 60 is 3,600. So 60 minutes equals 3,600 seconds. Let's look at a few more. 2 miles is equal to how many feet? Always start with what you're given. So we're given 2 miles. Look at what you want to get to. We want to get to feet. Now look at the relationship. Look for the relationship on your measurement chart. What's the relationship between miles and feet? What does it say on your conversion chart?
It was 5,280 and 1.
Yep. Where does the mile label go? On the bottom. So we have 1 mile is how many feet?
5,280.
Good. 5,280 feet. What labels cancel out?
The mile.
The miles. And we're left with feet. What do we do now?
Multiply.
Yep, we want to solve. So we're going to do 2 times 5,280.
10, 5, 6.
Yep.
60.
10,560 feet are in 2 miles. More like this. 42 days equals how many weeks? Okay, let's go through the process. What do we start with?
How many days?
Start with what we're given.
7.
42 days.
7.
Hang on. 42 days. And we want to look at what we want to get to. We want to get to weeks. Okay, now look for the relationship on your conversion chart. How many days, or what's the relationship between days and weeks? 7. Okay, so there's 7 days in 1 week. Where does that 7 days go?
Bottom.
On the bottom. 7 days, what goes on the top? 7 days are in 1 week.
6.
Okay, that's the relationship we just found.
6.
Okay, what do we do to find our answer, Porter? What'd you get? How'd you find that?
6.
How'd you find that?
7 times 6 is 42.
Right, so we do 42 divided by 7, so we get 6 weeks. Right, one more like this. 12 feet equals how many yards? Start with what you're given. You're given 12 feet. We want to get to what?
Yards.
We want to get to yards. What's the relationship between feet and yard?
Do it 4. There's 3 feet, 1 yard.
There's 3 feet in 1 yard. Where does that 3 feet go? On the top or the bottom?
Um,
Bottom. Why does it go on the bottom?
because
So they can cancel out, and then 1 yard goes on the top.
4.
Yep. How'd you find that, Porter?
Because I just did.
So we do 12 divided by 3 to give you 4 yards. Okay, so on your dimensional analysis converting rates worksheet, look at number 2. Okay, so the bathtub empties at 15 gallons per minute. What is it in liters per second? Always start with what you're given. What are we given? 15 what?
Gallon per minute.
15 gallons per 1 minute. Okay, always start with what you're given. Now I want to look at what we want to get to. What's our end goal? Liters per second. Okay, now I'm going to look at what I want to get to compared to what I start with. Okay, at the top over here with what we end with, we have liters. Over there we have what relates to liters. Which one of those relates to liters?
Gallon.
Gallons. Okay, so we want to make a conversion from liters and gallons. Thoughts? So for 1 gallon, where does the 1 gallon go? On the top or the bottom? Bottom. 1 gallon, and it says is 3.785 liters. Okay, what cancels out there? What label cancels out? Gallons. Okay, looking at our end goal, do we now have liters on the top? Yes. Now looking at the bottom, we have seconds. But do we have seconds to start? No. What's the relationship between minutes and seconds?
60 seconds in a minute.
60 seconds in 1 minute. Where does the 1 minute go? On the top or on the bottom? On the top. So we have 1 minute is 60 seconds. What canceled out there? What label canceled out? Minutes, right? Top to bottom? Now, looking at our end goal, do we have liters per second? Yes. So now we need to multiply straight across on the top and the bottom. So on the top, we have 15 times 3.785. And then on the bottom, we have 60. What do I do with those two numbers? Divide. So your answer, you're going to get about 0.95. And then our label is liters per second. Looking at what's the next on yours? 4? So it says the Earth experiences 50,000 earthquakes per year. Stop. We always do what first? Start with what we're given. What are we given? Yep, 50,000 earthquakes per 1 year. What do we want to look at next? So we started with what we're given. What do we want to look at now? What we want to end with, right? What's our ending? Earthquakes per... Yep, earthquakes per hour is what we want to end with. Okay. Now, look at the relationship between the end and the beginning. Looking at the top, we have earthquake. Do we have earthquake on the top at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes, so we don't have to do anything with that. Okay? But we have hours over here. What do we have on the other side? Years. So we want to go all the way from years to hours. Is there a straight shot from years to hours?
Yeah.
No. What does it tell us about 1 year?
There's 365 days.
1 year is 365 days, okay? So where do I put that 1 year? Top or bottom?
Top.
1 year on the top. What goes on the bottom? What was that relationship you said?
365.
365 days. Are we 2 hours yet? No. Can we get from days to hours?
Yeah.
Yes, how? What's the relationship there?
There's 24 hours in a day.
There's 24 hours in one day. Where does that one day go? Top or bottom?
Top.
Yep, 1 day on the top. What goes on the bottom? How many hours are in one day? 24 hours in one day. Now, how can we check if we have the right ending labels? Start crossing things out. What cancels out? The years cancel out, and the days cancel out. Are we left with what our end goal is?
Yes.
Earthquakes and hours, okay? Now we gotta multiply or divide, okay? We need to multiply across first, but what do we have on the top? Just that 50,000 earthquakes, okay? On the bottom, multiplying across, we have 365 times 24, and we get 8,760 hours. What's our last step? Divide, yep. If I divide those, I get about 5.71 earthquakes per hour. And I'm okay with you abbreviating in your labels. What do we start with?
40.
Okay, 40. What's the label? 40 pounds. What goes on the bottom? 75 years. Yep, 40 pounds for 75 years. What do we look at next? We started with what we're given. What do we look at now? Look at our end goal. What's our end goal? Ounces per week. Good. Everyone okay with those first two steps?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's take it one thing at a time. I'm going to look at the top first. I have ounces. Which one does ounces relate to over there? None, but which one can we convert from? Pounds. Okay, so what's the relationship on your conversion chart from pounds to ounces? 16 ounces a pound. Where does that 16 ounces go? On the top or on the bottom?
Top bar.
16 ounces goes on the top. What goes on the bottom? 1 pound, right? Okay, what cancels out there? The pounds cancel out. So do we have what we want on the top?
Yeah.
Yes. Now we need to look at the bottom, weeks. How do we go from years to weeks? What's the relationship there?
365 days in a year.
There is, but we want weeks.
There's 52.
52 weeks in a year. Where does that 1 year go? On the top or the bottom?
Top, yeah.
Top. 1 year is how many weeks?
52.
52 weeks. What cancels out there?
The years.
The year label cancels out. Do we have what we want? Ounces per week. Okay, now we need to do what?
Multiply.
We got to solve. We're going to multiply straight across first. So we have 40 times 16, 640, divided by 75 times 52, 3,900. And then what's my last step here? Divide. 640 divided by 3,900, you get about 0.16. What's my label? Ounces per week. Looking at number 7, what do we do first on these types of problems? What do we look at first? What did you all write down first? Yes, start with what you're given. So we have 14 feet over what? 1 day. Awesome. Step 1 done. What's step 2? Find out what we want to get to. What do we want to get to? Miles per year. Awesome. Okay. What do we look at now? We want to look at conversions. Okay, we're going to take one at a time. Miles. Which one goes with miles? Feet. What's the relationship between miles and feet?
5,280 feet.
Where does the 5,280 feet go? Top or bottom? On the bottom, so we have 5,280 feet. per 1 mile. Okay, what cancels out there? Feet cancel out, and we're left with miles on the top. Is that what we want? Yeah. What are we looking at now? Years and days. What's the relationship between years and days? 365 days a year. Where does the 365 go? On the top, 365 days. What goes on the bottom? 1 year. What canceled out in that step? Days. Are we what we want now?
Yeah.
We have miles per year?
Yeah.
Okay, what's our last few steps we got to do? Multiply across. Awesome. So we have 14 times 365, 5,110, divided by 5,280 feet. What is my last step that I got to do? Divide. And we get, did anybody get it? 0.97. What's my label? Miles per year. I realize I made a little mistake here. This should be a year. Are we close? On number 8. What are we starting with? Sorry, number 8. What are we starting with? 11.9 pounds. Good. Per 1 year. Awesome. What's our next step? Look for what we want. What do we want? Ounces per week. Okay, what do we look at next? Okay, look at the top first. Ounces goes with pounds. What's the relationship between ounces and pounds?
16 ounces in a pound.
Yep, where does the 1 pound go? On the top or the bottom? We want it on the bottom. Why do we want it on the bottom? Yep, so they cancel out. How many ounces are in 1 pound? 16. So there we said the pounds cancel. So we have ounces already, what we want. Okay, now what do we look at? Weeks and years. What's the relationship between weeks and years? It's 52 weeks in 1 year. So we get, where's that 1 year go? Top or bottom? 1 year over 52 weeks. What cancels? The years cancel out, right? Yep, now we multiply straight across. So we have 11.9 times 16. So we have 190.4 divided by 52. Did everyone get here?
Yep.
What do we do next?
Divide.
Divide. So we get about 3.66 ounces per week.